and welcome to another episode of On the Floor with Wayne and Rob. I'm Wayne Highlander, National Sales Manager at Bona US.
And I'm Rob Johnson from Bona Training.
Hello, Rob.
How you doing, bud?
Hello, Rob.
Happy Veterans Day.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. The same, man. Happy
I
Veterans
even
Day.
wore my camo hat today to
Here you go.
salute our veterans.
Yep. Thank you to all of our veterans that have served, and thanks for the sacrifice and the service and all that you've done and all that you do. So appreciate that.
We even have a lot of guys who work at Bona who were veterans.
Mm-hmm.
I was pretty surprised. A lot of guys.
Yeah, quite a few guys. Yeah.
So hats off to all those guys. Thank you very much.
They wouldn't
Good day for those guys. They deserve the shout outs.
Absolutely. They wouldn't count my high school junior ROTC as, it didn't count, I guess.
Are you kidding me? That's
But
that I give thanks for that freedom that you provided me every day.
what was my responsibilities at ball games? We had to help park cars. Yeah. I'm not trying to, but anyhow, yeah, thanks to all the veterans.
Did you ever think of going in the military?
The biggest shock of my life is that I did not join the military. I knew I was. I mean, that's my whole everything. And growing up, there was no doubt in my mind I was going to join the military. I probably recruited 10 kids to join the military. I know I have. I was a recruiter. The recruiter should have gave me side money, but I took the physical and everything. I went to ROTC just because when you join, you get an extra stripe as soon as you go in. Join the high school ROTC and do the 3 years or 4 years. And so the recruiter actually, he came to my house, everything, and then all I had to do was sign the paperwork. Everything else was done. And he put that black pen in my hand, that black pen that says U.S. government on it. And when he put that black pen in my hand, I thought, I've seen those pens my entire life. I mean, we're a military family. I mean, every drawer you open in our house, there's a black pen that says U.S. government on it. And it just hit me all of a sudden. It's all I knew. And I thought to myself, you know what? We're going to move to California. Why don't I just wait till I get to California? And if I want to join out there, I'll just join out there instead. And I don't know why. I really don't know why. But so I went out to California, and I met Judy shortly after. And that changed my whole trajectory of my life. And then the biggest surprise, to this day, it still surprised me. I never joined the military. I lived on a military base my whole life growing up. I'm going to say this. People don't appreciate the sacrifice that, oh man, I don't know how it's going to come out. But military kids is a different lifestyle. If you haven't grown up as a military kid, you would never understand it. But if you look at, we moved every 1 to 3 years. I mean, like I said, I went to 11 different schools, I think, before I graduated high school. My brother went to 13. My other brother went to like 11, 12. And if you think about that, we don't know anybody that we've ever grown up with. We don't know, except for one person and he just reached out to me on Facebook. It was kind of a fluke, but I'm glad he did. But so your entire childhood, you remember nobody. There's nobody that remembers you. There's no high school reunions. Everybody, so it's a different life, man. But anyhow, so there's a long answer to your question. All right. So, Rob, what are we going to talk about today?
We are going to talk about today tough conversations you got to have with your employees sometimes.
Tough conversations that you're going to have with your employees. Okay. All right. I like it.
This is right up your alley. I mean, now that you're in super management.
Yeah. True.
High management. What would you call yourself?
Extraordinary.
Extraordinary management.
Yes.
Upper management.
Yeah. Yes.
Extraordinary upper management.
Yeah. EOP. EOM.
Extraordinary. EUM.
EUM. Yes.
Atta boy. Hopefully
yeah.
The upper management people don't hear this one.
Yes. All right. Have you ever had to have a tough conversation with an employee?
Yeah, actually I did twice. twice. And one, I couldn't wait to do it. I think I've told that story when I took my dad's crew over and they got off the road and I was on the road with the crew. And my first thing I did was fire the old guy that everybody hated.
Mhm.
And that wasn't a tough conversation at all. I was a freaking hero.
Yeah.
The tough conversation was when my dad said, you got to call him up, apologize, and hire him back.
Oh,
That,
no.
yeah, that was the
Oh.
tough conversation.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that would be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember my dad, he calls me like Saturday morning because I had fired the guy Friday afternoon. And he was just, I've actually told the story, I think, before, but he was the trainer in our company. Okay. He taught everybody how to put the paper on the machines, how to run them. And he was the most miserable SOB that you ever want. He was 5 foot nothing, weighed 100 and nothing, but he was the most terrifying man that I had ever come in contact with in my life. I mean, and once he started drinking, and he drank every day, he was 10 times more miserable. I mean, I remember the first week that I had taken the crew out, we were working down Long Island and things were going really good. And he was being his typical self, picking fights with everybody and, just horrible. And I remember I mentioned to a couple guys, yeah, today's the day I'm firing Charlie. And everybody was like patting me on the back and like, yeah, this is great. What awesome day. It was Friday, but it was also, we're going to get rid of this guy. So I fired him, walked right up, said, hey, you're done. This is exactly what I said. I go, you are done. And he goes, you sure about this? I go, oh, I've never been more sure of anything in my life. And he was just kind of laughing about it. He wasn't, he was, just kind of smirking and laughing, and everybody was all happy and watching. And I'm like, yeah, I said, I've wanted to do this for a long time. You are history, buddy. And that was it. And he got in his Dodge Caravan. It wasn't a Caravan, the Dodge Tradesman. You remember the Dodge Tradesman vans, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
He had the Dodge Tradesman and he drove away, and man, we were all happy. And Saturday morning, I get a call from my dad. It's like, hey, I talked to Charlie, and yeah, I want you to give him a call, kind of apologize, make up with him, and tell him everything will be fine for Monday. And I'm like, what? I go, huh? No way. I go, and this is my crew now. And he goes, oh, yeah, that's all. Yeah. That's all great. He said, but just give him a call and apologized. So I'm like, are you not hearing me? And he goes, listen, it's a little bit different what we do. Okay. He said, not only are we, doing floors and everything, but we have to live with each other. Because we're always on the road, You're always rooming with guys. He goes, so you're rooming with guys, you're eating with guys, you're with people 24/7. And he goes, and everybody hates Charlie. And I'm like, yeah, exactly. That's why he's got to go. Mm-hmm. He goes, yeah, but they hate him. If you get rid of him, they have to turn their hatred on somebody, and it'll be on you.
That's brilliant.
And I was like, wow, that kind of made sense. All of us. Yeah. Oh, so it was a tough conversation, man. And I think I was like maybe 22 or 23, maybe something like that. And so I, manned up, called him up, apologized. But in the back of my head, I was thinking, he's the lightning rod. So, like I said, I learned so much from my dad about people, not so much about how to do floors and stand and install and stuff, but I learned more people skills from the old man. And actually, Charlie, the giant pain in the he was a great mechanic. And I mean, once you learned it from him, you knew it cold. But
How come you couldn't recognize that? And what made you think you could fire him at the time?
Well, it was my crew. I had
Okay.
taken over the crew, right? I
Yeah, yeah,
was I was the foreman of the crew. I
yeah,
mean, I was in
yeah,
charge. And, I'm a Johnson. So,
yeah,
I'm an owner too.
yeah. Oh, there you go. Yeah,
So I just thought, how dumb my uncle and dad were to, keep this cancer on the crew
yeah.
until, the old man kind of explained it to me. And I was like, oh,
Makes a lot of sense.
it,
That
it,
actually
it,
makes a lot of sense.
it did make some sense. And then years later, um, I'm reading the book about the 1980 Olympic team. Okay.
Mhm.
And, the whole, you remember the movie,
Oh, of course. Yeah.
right? I mean, the movie Miracle and
Yep.
everything.
Miracle on Ice or something.
Yeah. Well, he kind of did the same thing. The coach of that team, he thought rather than the kids from the Midwest hating on the kids from the East,
Mhm.
he would make everybody hate him. He became the lightning rod, which actually, brought the team together. Herb Brooks was brilliant when it came to, playing the mind game stuff.
You know something? Okay, so that's interesting to me, and I've thought a lot about this over my life. Is that you take a Bobby Knight? You remember Bobby Knight, the coach of the Indiana
Yes. Oh
Hoosiers?
yeah. Yeah.
So, and I had a football coach in high school. I hated, but I will say, he got every ounce of me. Whatever there was in me, he got out of me. He got it out of me, right? Bobby Knight, I'm sure, gets everything. He probably the players accomplished more than they ever thought possible. They got more out of themselves. They ran harder and faster, and did more than they ever thought that humanly possibly that they could do. Right? Because it's great coaching. But would you want to work for Bobby Knight? Would you want to? You know what I mean? Would you want to? So it's a different setting. So
Yeah.
the relationships are different. The dynamic changes altogether. Uh, Even if Bobby Knight could get the most out of you as an employer, I mean, make you stand better than you ever thought possible. How long are you going to put up with that? You know what I mean? And you might put up with that until you got 4 years or great training in, but as for long term, nobody wants that.
Yeah.
So there's a difference
And,
there.
and that was the other part to that movie. Exactly what you're saying there. How long can that go for? How long can you push that narrative, right? Well, if you're coaching a professional team, that narrative isn't going to work. And if you're coaching a college team year after year and you've got guys who are with you for 4 years, it's not going to work. But that whole Olympic thing was just 10 months.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he knew that there was an
Well,
end and he can push it. And now that we're talking about it, I absolutely love the scene. I think it's like the second game and they're not doing so good. They're kind of tied, and he goes into the locker room and he's kind of, not happy. And he looks over at the kid from the Midwest. I forget the kid's name. And he's got his skates off. And he goes over, he goes, well, what's up with you? And he goes, well, my ankle's twisted or something. And Doc says I can't play. And he goes, you freaking candy. And the kid just blows up, right? But he had checked with the doctor. He goes, can he play? And the doctor's like, yeah, he can play, but it's going to be really painful. He goes,
yeah.
yeah, but can he play? Will it hurt it anymore? And he's like, no, but it's going to be painful.
Mhm.
So he goes in, calls the kid a candy. The kid flips out. Everybody is furious. They go back on the ice and destroy the team that they're playing with. I mean,
Mhm.
it was
Yeah.
brilliant. But
Yep.
like you're saying, that's only going to last so long, but it was only a 10-month stint
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
that team from the time they were put together to the end of the Olympics. So
Yeah. Yeah. Having the tough conversation. Sometimes by not having the tough conversation can cost you in a lot of different ways. Um, reputation, time loss, jobs loss, employee, dissatisfaction, working with guys that you just don't like. And what does that do to the crew? What does that do to the morale? And tough conversations today are probably way different than they were 20 years ago.
I think there's a lot more of them today
Yeah,
than there was a long time ago.
a lot tougher conversations.
I definitely think so. When I was kind of researching this stuff, a lot of stuff started to pop up, and I was like, boy, I mean, just the words that we use that we can't use today that we used 20 years ago, like it was nothing, right?
I thought you were going to throw out a word.
Well, here, case in point, the R word, right? We don't even say that word anymore. Where 20 years ago, even 10 years ago, everybody was using that word.
Yeah.
It was just it wasn't what it is today.
Mhm.
You know the race car driver, Kyle Busch?
Yeah.
A couple weeks ago, over the radio, or I think it was over the radio during an interview, he called somebody the R word. A guy had smacked into him, wrecked his day and everything, used the R word. Boom. He had to go to sensitivity training. NASCAR forced him into sensitivity training. So,
Yeah.
I mean, from when you and I were doing this for real, when we were, sanding floors and installing and everything, things have completely changed.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm sorry. What I mean is that the conversations back then were a harsher tone than they would be today. Like today, there's more things you have to be careful of and whatever, more mindful of. But the way, if you did something wrong back in the day, you just got massacred. You know what I mean? There was nobody
Yes.
worrying about your feelings.
Nobody cared about your feelings.
Yeah,
Nobody. Yeah. And
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
geez, now you can end up in court.
Yeah.
You
So,
could, really mess a guy up.
yeah.
The woke, the PC culture, you may not agree with it. You may not like those words, but it may cost you job and referrals and stuff. So, I'm not saying that we have to embrace it, but you
Yeah.
sure got to tiptoe around it.
I was out. Me and my wife laughed so hard we got home last night. We were out with a friend and his wife, and this guy is close to 80 years old, and nice guy. But he said something that was so, not politically correct. He didn't mean anything. You know what I mean? He's a nice soul. He didn't mean anything, but the way it would come across today is completely different than, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, and here's the thing too, you hopefully we evolve and there's a reason why we want to, make sure everybody, there's a lot of different, as you want, there's a lot of diversity in the workplace and everybody comes from a different background. So you just want to, above all, just respect everybody's feelings and where they come from and what have you. But there are times you got to have the conversation. I think maybe we can talk about that. It's also not only is it with from employer to employee, or maybe even the other way around. It also is from coworker to coworker. If you got a guy that has a bad habit or something, or that maybe he's not aware of, and you have to bring it to his attention, it can be tough. So it's so tough, in fact, that we seem to have a problem even approaching it.
And usually the conversation you're putting off is the one that you really have to have.
Yeah. Let's do, you know what? Maybe this would be the easiest way to do it. Well, maybe we'll do it as a role play.
Oh, okay. Here we go. This could be fun.
Okay. I'll be the boss and you be the employee that I have to have this tough conversation with. Okay.
Didn't I know this was coming?
Or you could do it the other way around. I don't care.
No, you're a boss, man.
Okay.
So,
it just comes second nature to me because
I know. So
I am.
You are the boss.
Come on in, Rob. How you doing? Have a seat.
Pretty good, Wayne. What's up?
That last set of stairs you did was really nice. I mean, really looked good, man. And the customer was thrilled. So nice job on that. I know there's a lot of work.
Oh, great. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
but you smell like dead catfish. What's that all about? When I'm around you, I smell dead catfish, and I don't know. Do you just not have detergent in the house, or is it swamp water you coming out of your tap, or what the hell's going on with you?
Well, I work so hard for the company that, and when I get home, sometimes I just fall asleep in my clothes, and
Yeah.
I'm so exhausted that I just kind of wake up the next day and
Smell
go right
everything.
back to work.
Yeah, yeah, I understand, but just it's tough on the rest of the guys, frankly. I mean, you know, if I put two of you in the van, you can use a commuter lane to go to work, and the guys are fighting outside who's got to ride with you, and then that's why I split you guys up, and it takes you an hour to get to work longer because you can't use a commuter lane because of the catfish situation. So I just wonder if you could do something about that.
Well, so I guess we're just going to be really open with each other, correct? Is that what this
No,
is?
I didn't say that at all. Not,
Okay,
I don't think we should
because
be open.
if you notice, I have to keep backing up my seat because of your breath.
Really,
Yeah. Do you have a dentist? Do you go to the
yeah.
dentist at all, or?
When I write out your check, I think that should be your biggest concern. You don't need to worry about me, pal.
Okay.
I worry about you. So, yeah. And honestly, it's in defense. So it's the dead catfish smell that's emanating off of you. I don't have to smell so much.
Now, these are two conversations that
They're tough.
and they're real.
Yeah.
They are real. I was running this by Pauline and the kids last night. We had a couple of kids over for supper, and you know, Pauline and Rebecca are both in the dental industry, and they both had stories of people people coming in because the boss had sent them into the dentist because of their breath.
No kidding.
And they were saying it, this is why I'm here. Co-workers, customers, bosses, complaining about the breath. So I know it's a tough conversation to have. I mean, that's got to be the most, you and I can do it fooling around, but what they both said to me too was sometimes these conversations can be a little helpful. There could be something else going on. Like, the one girl that had come in, Rebecca was telling me that she had periodontal disease. So, the heads up on that was, hey, she's, they saved her teeth,
Right. Well, honestly, these would be super tough conversations to have.
Can't imagine it. Can't imagine it. And part of the research that I was doing on this is, everybody can say, oh yeah, it's a tough conversation.
Yeah.
You rip the Band-Aid off quick and that's, well, that's not going to work when you're, dealing with somebody's feelings. But one of the things that I read was, if you do have to have this conversation, let's say the bad breath conversation, they mentioned try not to do it in the office. Take the person out to lunch. Yeah.
I don't know
they
if I
said
agree
take the
with that
person
one.
out to lunch, right? Get away from the office setting. The office setting sometimes can be like, hey, step into my office. I need to talk to you about something. That can be a little intimidating.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go out to lunch. Now you're at lunch. And it was funny because the breath one is like, you go to lunch, you're just talking, everything's nice. Then when you get done lunch, pop out a mint and throw a mint here. Right. And they go, oh, and they said, oh, I love these things. And then offer a mint to the other guy or the other person. And then maybe they'll get the idea.
I don't think so.
And then again, maybe they won't.
Yeah.
Well, that's when somebody's writing a story.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking, no.
I think
no no way. I'll never forget. I took this girl out on a date. First time I had dated her, I was a senior.
Mhm.
She was a junior. Picked her up, and she goes, "Oh, my dad wants to meet you." I was like, "Okay, great. Yeah, meet the family. Yeah, hell
Yeah,
yeah."
yeah.
Well, this guy brings me down into a cellar, and he's showing me all his shotguns and guns and this and that. It's not dawning on me what's going
Mhm.
on here. I just thought the guy
Yeah.
was a gun enthusiast, right?
Mhm.
It literally didn't hit me until I heard a country song probably 30 years later.
Yeah, I know the song you're talking about.
You know the song I'm talking
Yeah,
about, right?
yeah,
I'm
yep.
listening to that song and I'm like, holy crap. That's what
That was, I didn't
that's
see, you
what
didn't get
Mr.
it.
Schoonbeck was talking about. Okay.
I think you have to be more direct though. And I think that, um, I think you have to start with something very positive. Pick some things out that they do very well. You know what I mean? Look, man,
Yeah.
you're a flat out stud. You do these things, and you got to be genuine about that too. You just can't make it up, or else nothing
Mhm.
gets learned. You do so many things that are good, blah blah blah. But there's something I got to hit you with. It's a tough conversation, and this is it. I prefer to have that conversation on the phone myself, um, or have somebody else have the conversation. Uh, I got other things I got to worry about, and I don't want to have that. I don't want to.
Billy, come here. Go tell Joe his breath
Yeah,
stinks like a
yeah.
bear.
For
Yeah.
heaven's sakes.
I
But
did like the idea of maybe not doing it in the office, just kind of breaking it down. But I did like also, if you're going to talk to somebody about their body odor, cleanliness, breath, whatever, try to. I did like what Rebecca and Pauline were mentioning, like going with a health thing, trying to, hey, is there something I can, because they were both telling me that the boss is like, I'll pay for your, go get your teeth cleaned.
yeah,
I'll pay for it.
yeah.
I
Well,
mean, if the
yeah.
person's worth it, especially in the
Well,
climate we live in where we can't get employees and everything, it might be worth the investment to say, hey, I made a dentist appointment for you. Go see this guy. He's a great
yeah,
guy, my guy.
yeah. Or you could keep them around like you kept the other guy around with, and whoever's not, it was on your list, you could have him work with him. If you don't be careful, I'm going to send you out with Frank. I think that, like I said, I think that here's what I would do. In the case that you have to do that, is I would pick some things that they do well, talk about that. I would also couch it in that, hey, it's for your own good because maybe there's something else going on, blah blah blah,
Yeah.
and that's it.
And I always think
Here's
that
what here. In fact, here's the better method. Look, I brought you in here today. I wanted to let you know you've done some fantastic things, and I mean, I love the fact that you work so hard and you're great with you. I can't believe how fast you picked up the edger. But Rob has brought this to my attention, and he's gone on and on about it to the point where I think I have to be, I have to say something. How about that technique?
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah, there you go.
yeah. Don't mention it to Rob because he's, he's.
Rob.
By the way,
Oh,
Rob's
Rob
got
is.
some. Yeah, he's got some
Yeah.
issues too.
Rob should be, what's that whole thing about the glass houses, right? Yeah, like
Yeah.
he should be throwing stones.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
You get close to him lately,
Yeah.
it's awful. Matter of fact, you might mention that to him. There you go.
Yeah, you get it. And once again,
Harmony in
Highlander,
the
baby,
workforce.
nailing it. I think the other thing you have to do too is you always got to think of how they're gonna put yourself in their shoes when you're gonna talk about something like this.
Yeah.
But this has got to be some of the, especially what if he's your sales guy? What if he's your estimator?
Mhm.
He's out there
Yeah.
and just blowing people away.
Yeah.
You got to have that.
I remember when we had to have the talk with Eileen about her feet. I mean, they make, huh?
Our Eileen?
Yeah. Do you remember that?
What, what's wrong with her feet? I didn't know she had a
Smell.
foot thing.
The smell, it was the
Oh.
feet.
Oh my God, I can't
Yeah.
believe you're gonna go there.
Remember that? Yeah, but she's
Uh-huh.
great now. Yeah.
What is wrong with my feet?
I didn't, you ask Rob. You guys can talk about that on your own time. I just kidding. I was trying to find something to pick on you, Eileen, but you were so perfect that there was nothing. So the only thing I can think of that was pretty harmless was your feet. I don't even know anything about your feet. Now it's weirded me out. When I see you next to you, I'll be looking at your feet.
That's all I'm thinking of. I can't wait till the next sales meeting. What
Yeah.
what did you see? Oh my God, they're hoofs.
I have cute feet. I've got really small feet.
See, Eileen, I
See?
said your feet were adorable.
I wear kids size shoes.
Do you really?
Yeah.
I'll have you know something. As messed up as all this is, I have beautiful feet myself. I really do have fantastic feet.
So I would think out of all the conversations, that's going to be the toughest one to have. Hygiene. I think hygiene's going to be the toughest one.
Yeah, it's very personal. So that, yeah, because I mean, you talk about people's habits, work habits, you need to, you know, maybe vacuum better or this, that. Those are, they're not near as personal. They are, but not like hygiene. Like,
You know, you were joking about driving with a guy. So we
Yeah.
had 2 big box trucks, right? And that's how we traveled around. And we had hired this guy, and he just didn't shower. And not only did he didn't shower, but he used to rub himself down with Johnson's baby oil. And the guy was a great worker. I mean, he was a stud, but that smell.
yeah,
Now we're working in bowling alleys and gyms and stuff. You're not that close.
yeah,
But when you're driving in the truck, we used to be flipping coins. Like,
yeah,
I can't drive with a guy. You know, I can't do it. Where finally,
Well-
finally the crew said to me, "Look, you got to go talk to your uncle or your dad, because now the guy's in hotel rooms with us. We're out to dinner with him, lunch, you know, whatever." And it was bad. So of course, and this is back in the 80s. So they call him into the office and they're like, you know, you stink, man. You got to shower up. If you're going to be with the guys, you got to take showers every day. Shower. That's why we get to the hotel. I mean, that's how they had the conversation with him. The guy shows up the next day at work and he's like, "So you guys think I stink?"
oh,
Really? And we're like, "Well, yeah. Why'd somebody say something to me?" And we're like, we thought that the older guys would have more.
yeah. That's a tough one, man. You know, real quick, and I don't know how much time we have. Me and Judy used to be friends with this other couple, and years and years ago. I mean, probably 25 years ago, or maybe even longer. We went on a 3-day trip with them, and his wife was miserable the whole trip, and frankly, just hard to be around, right? But whatever, it's his wife, whatever, anything about it. So on the way back, I said something to my friend, and she thought I was talking to her. And I was like, you know, do it yourself or whatever. You know, I was just, you know, talking to him. We're just having a conversation. The 2 ladies are in the back seat talking to each other. She asked me something, and I think she asked me to roll up the window. So I just rolled the window and I was responding to him, but it was a real sarcastic, smart remark, right? So
Guy
we
to
got
guy.
home. Yeah. So I think about 11 o'clock at night, 11:30, this on a Sunday night. We got back on Sunday, you know, afternoon, Sunday night, 11:30 at night. Phone rang, and it's him. And he goes, "Hey, Wayne, I think you owe my wife an apology, man." I go, "Mark, what happened? What'd I do?" He said, "Well, when you said such and such, I can't remember exactly what I said." I go, "Mark, what's the matter with you? You remember you and I were talking? You know what I mean?" And in the middle, she asked me to roll up the window, but we were having that conversation. I wouldn't, in a million years, I wouldn't say that to your wife. And he goes, "Oh, Oh, okay, man. Oh, man, I'm sorry, man. I said, but while I got you on the phone, honestly, Mike, if I don't see your wife again, man, I'm cool with that. And he goes, oh, okay, all right, yeah, okay, I'm sorry. And he hung up, right? And I went to bed. I mean, I'm telling you, man, she was horrible. So about 1 in the morning, the phone rings again, and it's her.
God.
And she is crying so much, it's hard to understand what she's saying. And she goes, what did you say to Mark? And I said, we see a lot of each other, if we just don't happen to see each other for a while, you're busy, I'm busy. And she goes, well, he left. I go, what do you mean he left? She goes, he left, he's gone. And he says he's divorcing me. And honest to God, Rob, I'm not making this up. It was months afterwards, they divorced.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Boy, you really are a
things.
freaking tornado, huh?
I did him the best
Everything
favor.
you touch, you
This
destroy.
This guy had a phenomenal life after that. I'm talking wildly successful after that. And I hope she did fine too. But yeah, it was the best thing ever happened to him. So anyhow, all right.
I've seen that before. I've seen that. My dentist, we did, I'd been going to this guy and one day he goes, hey, you know what? I think I want my floors done. He goes, finally. And I'm like, oh, okay, great. So give him the estimate and everything. And he's there. And we're just talking and laughing. He was a really great guy. But his wife was, she was just not a pleasant person. And, one of those people that, just horrible on the inside and outside. And I could not for the life of me
figure out
what's going on here. And they had kids and everything, and a beautiful house, nice cars. I mean, he was doing well. So it wasn't like, I don't know. So
yeah.
I did make a couple of comments and he's like, yeah, she's, she was wondering about this. I mean, just the absolute most craziest little things, like a little dust someplace or a piece of sandpaper left, whatever. And I'm like, yeah, I'll take care of that. And I made the comment like, that's got to be tough for you around here,
Yeah.
What I really wanted to say was something like you said,
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, you don't know the half of it. And I was like, oh geez. All right.
Yeah.
So let's stay completely away from that. Right. So I would say, I don't know, 2 years later, I come in, we're talking, and he's still the friendliest guy you ever meet. And he goes, hey, I got a new house. I want you to come over and do the floors. And I was like, oh, good. He goes, well, I got a new wife too.
Oh.
I was like, really? Complete opposite.
No kidding.
This woman was beautiful on the inside and the out. I mean, I just was laughing like hell. I finally took him outside. I'm like, Barry, this has got to be the biggest 180 I've ever seen in my life. And he goes, I just can't wipe the smile off my face every day. Yeah. Yeah.
That's crazy what a difference it can make.
Oh, yeah. All right. So, some other tough conversations. Attitude.
That's not tough for me.
Well, I think we started with the toughest ones.
Yeah.
Those
well, there you
personal
go.
ones.
Matter of fact, that's how you start the attitude conversation. Bob, I got to talk to you about your body odor is horrendous. Not really. I want to talk to you about your attitude. You know what I mean? So now you're like, oh, well, it's not that at least. That's not a tough, in those circumstances, would that be a tough conversation for me? Attitude.
Well,
it has to happen.
And I think the attitude, there's some, we see them all the time. We hear about it all the time. People who do have, sometimes we do meet some guys in this business that get some anger issues.
Really?
And those anger issues,
I've not come across
I
that.
know this is all foreign to you,
Yeah.
but the
Um,
anger issues, the fights that happen sometimes between your employee and your customer,
gas
those are the
station
tough ones.
guy,
What's
storage
that?
guy, gas station guy, the storage guy, those kind of things. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Let's see here. Here's where it would be. I say that's not tough, but where it might be tough is when people are tone deaf. Some people don't get the nuances, you know what I mean, and they may not know they're bull in the china shop type of thing, you know what I mean. They may not understand that they come across gruff, and that would be where it would be a tougher conversation because they may not be aware of it, and they might be completely, yeah, that's just the way I am. And matter of fact, who is it? The guy we hired one time, and in fact, he was talked to about his attitude a little bit, and his response was the best response I think I've ever heard in my life. Hey, you knew I was from Philly when you hired me.
Didn't hide that fact.
That's a great response.
Yeah.
Do you say about my attitude or whatever, the way I
didn't
talk? Hey, you knew I was from Philly when you hired me.
Yes.
I think that's
Wow.
I'd almost give the guy a pass.
Now, you see, with attitude and laziness and showing up on time and that stuff, I had no problem with those conversations with employees. None at all.
Yeah.
Especially when you're leading by example.
Yeah. Yep.
Because if you're doing it, well, your guys are going to do it.
Yep.
So you got to lead by example on that one.
Yeah, 100%. Termination can be tough.
I love when people are talking about this, and like I said, some of the research, and one of the guys I read, it said, "Hey, it's business, it's not personal," and I was like, that couldn't be more wrong. Yeah, it's business to you.
It's all personal.
But it's all personal to the guy that you're canning, Hey, I got a wife, I got kids, I got bills. What are you talking about?
Yeah. That's a tough conversation, the termination one. Hopefully, it just doesn't come out of the blue that these conversations happen, and actually probably important to record these. I mean, well, I don't say record them like with a recorder, but just write down, put notes that on August 9th, we talked about such and such, on September such and such, we talked about, on, November, we talked about it. And that, so it shouldn't be right out of the blue. And I think you could also put someone on a performance improvement plan. You know what I mean? Before that gets to that point. Say, listen,
absolutely. There you go. Now I think I definitely think that's the way to go. A second, maybe a third chance, but like you said, give him some goals he's got to hit. Give him some targets that he's got to nail, that he's got to be on top of, right?
I think a couple of things have to happen.
But then, if he just keeps continuing, now it's not a tough conversation.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I gave you, I gave you two chances, man. Here it is in writing. Here's what we talked about. Here, now it's not so tough, and he's got to know what's coming too.
So I think that a couple of things have to happen in those conversations. One is that there has to be a meeting of the minds. Here's why I'm having this conversation with you. If you don't agree with it, then it's an easier conversation. Then we're done. We can't meet. I mean, these are the way that's what I have to have. And if you don't give me that, it's not going to work. So I think there has to be a meeting of the minds to acknowledge, okay, here's where it needs to happen to improve it. And if that doesn't happen, well, and excuse me, and then the second part of that is the performance improvement plan. That I need to see this by such and such dates, and also agree to that. And look, and also maybe there's a reason why these things are happening. Let me hear your side of it. You know what I mean? You can't just be a
Sure.
one-sided conversation. So what's happening on your end? Or you think I'm being unreasonable, or maybe I'm missing something, and maybe I am being unreasonable. So let's talk about it. But the standard is this. So let's be aware that's the standard, and so I have to have that. The other thing too is you're representing me. So that's like me being out there, and I have very high standards. I can't let you bring those standards down. I didn't
Right.
get to where I am. This company didn't get to where it is because we lowered our standards. I have to meet those standards. You know what I mean? These standards I have to meet too. So it is what it is. So
No, I think that's a great, that's the way to do it.
yeah,
Because then if you do have to terminate the guy, he knew it was coming. He didn't fall it, he didn't hold up his end of the bargain. Now it's a pretty easy conversation to have. And I think the other thing too is going to show the other employees, hey, they're trying. He's trying,
but
you're gonna
here's the other side of that too, is that you have to make sure that you hold everybody to the same standard. And that's a slippery slope, because you can't appear to have that. Bob gets to do this. Well, Bob is, he's the best sander I've ever seen in my life, so he gets a pass. Everybody has to be held to the same standard, yourself included, and that's why that's so it's not so ambiguous of, where's the line at? You know what I mean? Everybody has to know where the line is, and it's tough. It's easy for us to say this, but with the labor shortage that there is now, you know what I mean?
Right.
It throws a curveball in it, because the labor pool isn't what it was. So that's why I think it's the approach is smarter if it's one that's mutual, that you can both agree, and maybe there's some give and take. You know what? I understand you're 15 minutes late every day, and it kills me. I that's a stickler for me. I just can't have someone be late. Well, I've got the kids I got to deal with in the morning. So maybe say, listen, let me do this. Let me have you start at 8:30. Can you work a little half hour later, or can you do such and such? All right, because I want to accommodate your needs as well, but I have to have this on my side. So I think once everybody walks away from
because
that,
the labor pool is not banging on everybody's door anymore.
one of the most valuable lessons I've learned over the course of my career, there doesn't always have to be a winner and a loser. You know what I mean? You don't, I don't think that's the goal. Where in the old days it was. I mean, in the old days, your boss, there was no the meeting of the mind. What? What are you talking about? Meeting of the mind. This is the way it is. You don't like it, you hit the road. That's it. You're done.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's
Those days are, you were saying everybody's got to be held to the same standards. Remember the guy I was talking about earlier in the show that I fired? He was allowed to drink during the day.
My gosh. Yeah.
He was allowed to drink.
Yeah. Wow.
And anybody who started, right? Any, new guy would come to the crew that, they'd see Charlie pour himself a little Christian Brothers brandy. And they're like, oh, great. I'm going to go grab a beer or something. My dad's like, what are you doing? What are you out of your mind? Well, he's drinking.
Yeah.
He's different. That's Charlie.
Yeah. Right.
And that was the old days. It was our way of the highway. That's it. You don't ask any questions.
Yeah.
But we don't live there anymore.
No, that's true. That's true. So, okay. What else you got? Anything else you want to add to this?
We're into it for we're close to 50 minutes in.
Okay. This kind of feels like a hot mess. I have to go back and rethink about what this show was all about. But I think somewhere in there was information that is valuable.
I think we covered how to have the tough conversation.
Yeah.
There's guys going to listen to this show thinking, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I've been putting that off.
Yeah. Well, so lastly, I'll leave with this then. My father-in-law was a brutal guy to work for. There was no compromise. There was zero. And he was brutal on people, man. I mean, he was a genius. He was a smart guy, brilliant man. But I mean, he would dress someone down like, so what would happen is he'd walk away getting his point across. The other guy would walk away completely dejected. And I just think that now with the way things are with the labor pool, whatever, I think we have to look at like that everybody comes away with, we learned, we got better, we're on the same page, we're moving forward, and then also that we do this, we don't hold any grudges about it. And we also reward good behavior and say, hey, man, I just want to tell you something. We had that talk. Remember we had that talk? I want to tell you, it's hard to change. And I know that you have, and I really appreciate that. It means a lot to me. Right?
Middle ground, common ground. That's what we were looking for now.
There you go. Okay. Well, Rob, this has been another episode of On the Floor with Wayne and Rob. Please stay tuned for another episode.